is Jen from Cookies, Cupcakes, and Cardio.com. I've got a real treat for you today. We're going to be making a homemade cake in the base, which is a caramel apple. And we're going to be topping the caramel apple cake with salted caramel buttercream and gourmet candy apples. It's so delicious and it's so decadent and it's all homemade. Let's get started. To make the cake, we're going to be using 1.5 cups of applesauce. We need 2 cups of granulated sugar, 3¼ cups of all-purpose flour. We're going to need 4 eggs. We're also going to be using 1 cup of butter that's softened. Now for our rising agents, we need 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and we need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. For our spices, we need 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, and we need 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger and a pinch of nutmeg. We also need 1/2 cup of milk and 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Our first step is to mix our dry ingredients together. So I have a medium-sized bowl here, and I'm going to put my flour into it like this. And then I'm going to add all of my baking powder, baking soda, and salt, and my spices as well into here. They're awesome fall spices. And then just using a whisk, I'm just going to mix it together and then set it aside. In the bowl of my stand mixer with the paddle attachment, I am going to beat my butter very briefly, and then I'm going to add in my sugar. So you just want to kind of like move it around like that, and then I'm going to put in my sugar into the bowl and then beat that till it's nice and light and creamy. So I've got my butter and sugar creamed together nicely. I'm going to put the mixer back on to kind of like a low medium, and I'm going to slowly add each of the eggs. Once the eggs are mixed in, we're going to add our applesauce. Just going to push that in there like that. And then I'm going to continue to mix that until that's all incorporated. With the applesauce incorporated, now I'm going to add in 1/2 of the flour. So this is my mixture that we mixed first, and I just set it off to the side. So I'm just going to like kind of eyeball about 1/2. And then I'm going to put it on to kind of just medium again, and then mix that in. Now I'm going to add in the milk, pour that in there, and I'm going to add the vanilla extract. I'm just going to mix that briefly. Once that's kind of mixed in a little bit, you're going to add the remainder of your flour. Let's see if I can get it all in here, like that. And then you're going to do the final mix and just keep that on medium until everything's incorporated. With the cake batter finished, I have greased an 8-inch pan. Now you're going to need 3 of these 8-inch cake pans in order to use up all of this batter. So what you're going to do is you're going to divide the batter equally in between your 3 pans. And once you have that all finished, you're going to bake them in a preheated oven at 350 degrees for about 30 to 35 minutes. And then you're going to let them cool. We're going to get started on the buttercream next. To make the salted caramel buttercream, we're going to be using 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. We also are going to need probably about 2 tablespoons of milk, and that's going to depend on how thick you want your buttercream. Also, for taste is going to be the salt component. I'm using fleur de sel. You could use any like a coarse salt, and it's going to be about 1 teaspoon again to your flavoring. And we're going to be using 3/4 cup of this Dulce de Leche, or you could use like your favorite caramel sauce. We need 1/2 cup of butter softened, and we need 5 cups of icing sugar, also known as confectioner's sugar. In the bowl of my stand mixer fitted with the paddle attachment, I have the butter, and I'm just going to briefly beat that. And now I'm going to add my Dulce de Leche, or your caramel sauce. And I'm just going to squeeze that into there. Look at that delicious goodness. Just going to get a spatula to get that all in there, like this. And then I'm going to beat that until it's all incorporated. So I'm going to put in my vanilla now. And I'm going to turn that on just briefly to mix that in. And then I'm going to add about half of my icing sugar, and I'm going to mix that in too. And I'm just going to beat it on low. If you've ever had an icing sugar explosion, you know to put your mixer on low speed to start up. So about a little bit more here. And then let's put it on to low and mix that. Once we've got that initial bit mixed in, we're going to add in our milk. And again, if you find it too thin or too thick, you can always use less milk or more milk. We're also going to add in our salt, going in there, and it's nice in big chunks. And then we're going to add the rest of our icing sugar. Hopefully not making a mess again. There we go. And then we're going to mix that up completely. And then once you've got it all mixed up, if you do need to add the milk, add it afterwards. So our buttercream is prepared and our 3 layers of cake have baked up beautifully and they are cooled completely, and I've leveled them off so there's no dome on the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some of this delicious salted buttercream, if I can get it out here, and then layer a little bit in between each of my layers. Now this is, of course, some people like lots in the middle, some people don't like very much at all, so that's totally up to you and your personal preference. So get that in there. Then I've got my second layer to come in here like this, and some more buttercream on top there. Get that in there. And we're going to put the third one on next, and then we're going to cover the entire cake in the buttercream. So that's what I'm going to do now. So to put this cake together, we've got the delicious homemade cake that we made with our homemade cake and the homemade buttercream. We're also going to need some chocolate ganache, and we're going to need 3 gourmet caramel apples. Both the ganache and the apples I've showed you how to make in previous videos, so I'll put a link in the description box below. We're also going to need some of these Canadian Smarties, and the reason I say they're Canadian because they're a little bit different than American ones, and they are candy covered chocolates. And you're also going to need some more Dulce de Leche or caramel sauce. Taking our chocolate ganache, we're going to pour it onto the top here. Probably want like about a cup or a little bit, like 3/4 or a little bit more. Again, you can put on what you want. And I'm just going to work it over to the sides and then kind of coax it down over the side there. Just like that, and I'm going to go all the way around the cake. So with the ganache on, I let it harden very briefly, just pop it in the freezer for like 5 minutes, because that's going to help prevent the caramel and the chocolate from rubbing or mixing together. If you don't care about that, then by all means, as soon as you put the ganache on, then put the caramel on. So I'm just going to take some of my caramel sauce here, the Dulce de Leche, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the ganache. I'm just going to work it with an offset spatula down towards the sides and just kind of coax it over the edges there. So I'm going to do that all the way around the cake, and this part of it will be ready. So to finish off the cake, we're going to top it with the candy apples, and I'll just put one up there to show you. So I'll put that guy right there in that caramel. So delicious. And then to finish off the bottom, I'm just going to do like a little Smartie border. Obviously that's totally optional and up to you. So I'm going to go all the way around the cake, and then I'll be back to show you the finished product. So there you go, everybody, how to make this delightful salted caramel apple cake. I added a little bit of Smartie, chopped up Smarties here to give it a little bit more of that chocolatey crunch, and I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial today. It was a really fun one to make for you. So thanks for watching. If you liked it, please think about sharing that with your friends, and I will see you guys all again next time.